Hello, and welcome to FODES, the Future of Design and Engineering Software podcast. My name is Rupinder Tara. On this show, we will have guests that will discuss tools and technology that engineers will find interesting and useful.
Art,
Hey, Rupinder, how you doing?
good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Been a long time.
It has been a long time, but you measure that in internet or AI time, it's been centuries, right?
Oh
So much has
gosh,
happened.
yeah. Yeah, well, I don't even know how AI time works anymore. It's just it's seconds that are getting slower or faster and faster. The time between seconds is faster and
Yeah,
faster. Something like
yeah.
that.
We've known each other for a long time. Like, I want to say decades. I think we met
Probably.
first at probably in Huntsville, right? When you were with.
It could have been. Let me think. So I started way back in at SDRC before that.
Okay.
So I got part of that when the SDRC and EDS or UGS, I should say, kind of combined.
You're part of
Uh,
the ideas group.
yeah, yeah, but it was funny because I didn't really think EDS was quite the company I wanted. So because it had some had kind of a bad reputation, and
Uh,
at that time I ended up leaving, and I left for about 18 months, and the whole world changed then. EDS spun it off to private investors, and then Siemens bought them to become basically what is Siemens DISW right now, Digital Industry Software.
right.
So yeah, I get around a little bit.
You do. And then what? Okay, so then we went to Siemens and then ended up
Then I
with,
went to Siemens.
right?
I've always been a developer up to then, but I really like finite element analysis, and that's what I was doing with SDRC too. In Huntsville, Alabama,
Uh,
is where they have the solid edge development down there. So I basically started the simulation program there. Did some initially some development with it, and then later became the simulation product manager. And that was great. It was a really nice thing to do to birth a new product. But after that, yeah, it slows down, and I always like research. So it's about that time I switched over to what at the time was Siemens Technology or corporate research for all of Siemens. So that's really interesting because then it connects you to all the Siemens companies, the companies making trains and the companies making, at least back then, energy equipment, large gas turbines, just about everything, medical equipment, whatever.
yeah. Your background now, your educational background is as a mechanical engineer, correct? You were trained as a mechanical engineer.
Yeah, so it's funny. I've always switched between the two. I actually started as a math major, which was
Uh,
kind of funny because if you were a math major, you had to take a language, and I tried to take a language, and I was really bad at it. I worked at it really hard, and so of course the first soft, okay, well, engineering doesn't require a language, so the first thing I do is get a job at a French company and have to learn French. So it doesn't escape you.
it
So I,
does.
I did learn if you work long enough on it, you can eventually, learn the language. Still have no skill for it, but at least I had, got something out of it.
So you ended up learning languages of a different sort, right? The languages of design and CAD programs, right? I want to say
Yeah.
each of those, this ties into what I want to talk about with you is AI and LLMs. And LLMs are all are language models, right? Large
Oh
language models,
yeah.
right? So my beef with CAD companies is, large language models would have no difficulty at all learning how to use CAD because CAD language is so limited, a few hundred words, and you've got CAD, right? So given their abilities, profoundly great abilities in language, it should be no problem for them to master to make an inference to
You
CAD.
would you would think so, but there's some limits. So there's different types of AI,
Yeah,
and obviously the large language models is what everybody's talking about right now.
yeah, right.
And they're great at so many things, writing code, anything procedural, and anything that you can do and then validate at the end. It works well. They don't have it's a little bit like, how some people are not good at math, but very good at other things. Like
Yeah.
a lawyer does not have to be good at math. Like you can do it with other skills. Engineers, you have to have math, but maybe you can get away with some other English skills or other things there.
Mhm.
I kind of see LLMs as something like that. They're very good at language. They're very good at explaining things. If you can put things in terms of language, they're good. One of the challenges, though, is mathematics. You have so many LLMs that, if you're trying to fit two parts together and one is 9.2 and the other is 9.11, half the time the LLMs will say, oh, well, 9.11 is bigger than 9.2 and
Right.
get it wrong. So those kinds of mistakes are still common. It really has a hard time relating between numbers. For example, numbers don't always get tokenized like words do. So if you get a long number, maybe pi is tokenized, but other numbers that are just these long numbers, they're broken down into little tokens, and you have to do a lot of things to figure them out. So there's still some issues there that I think companies need to look, especially the large companies working in geometry or those areas need to do a little more work in those areas still.
Yeah, sounds like we need, instead of a large language model, we need a large math model, a large geometry model.
Yeah, and it's kind of there. So I watch a lot of podcasts, and one of the things that's going on now, symbolic math, it's great at. It's able to go through proofs and come up with new things.
Uh-huh.
But just kind of the feel for numbers, what's big, what's small, what's really big. At least in my mind, that's kind of the one of the challenges there to
Right.
do that.
So isn't that why Jensen Huang, Jensen?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Okay.
Not personally, obviously, but yeah,
Right.
I
Right.
see. I probably
He's,
gobble up everything he does
he's,
or
I know.
writes. So
Yeah, so does the rest of the world. He's like the god of AI right now because
yeah,
all this hardware. He said physical AI was going to solve this problem, right? This was physical AI is what we need because it understands physics. It may not understand numbers per se, right? But
yeah,
it understands physics, or it should. I haven't seen a lot of uptake at physical AI. I think he intended for it to be used in robots, so robots could have a physical
yeah.
sense with a touch. You know how robots can really bad at touch. Uh,
Yeah,
those,
yeah. I mean, that was one of my research projects that we had was, you can, for 3D printing, you can put filaments in there that conduct electricity. So now all of a sudden, you got a robot. Usually a robot's out there and it's just like kind of blindly reaching around for stuff. If you can add touch to your robot and, if you bend it, you can pick up, how hard you're squeezing things together. If you have fields, just from electricity running through, you can detect how close you are to metal and things like that. So I think there's a
uh,
lot of potential there. I'm personally, I love the robots. I love everything that they're moving that way. I don't feel like it's coming as soon as a lot of people think.
yeah.
And part of that is it may be more feeling that recently when I got back from Hanover Messe a few weeks ago. I was really excited to see all the robots there, but so many of those robots are, they're not doing anything useful. They're barely able to stand and walk sometimes.
Oh, it's painful to watch. I swear.
Yeah. So and so
I
you're
had a
saying,
similar
oh well, we're gonna have
experience.
robots next year, and it's like, where are they? Because they're not at this conference for manufacturing.
No, they weren't at. I went to CES second year. This time I was a judge for their innovation awards, and I saw the same thing. There was robots, robot after robot after robot, and they were doing so many things so simple and so slow. I think it just gave robots a bad name. And they were
Yeah.
supposed to be impressive, and sure enough, the crowds gathered. But watching them, a couple of them were folding laundry shirts. And
Hmm.
yes, it's amazing they can do that. It's also everybody. I heard somebody say, "Well, that person worked in the laundry. That robot would be, if that robot worked in that factory, that robot would be fired in the first hour because it's pretty damn slow, right?" So
Yeah.
it doesn't help their image, I don't think, to parade these robots out.
Yeah, and that it's funny. That was one of my comments too. Was on the Hanover Mess.
Yeah.
I felt like they took the robots from CES, which CES is more let's show cool things, and
Yeah,
people that don't do manufacturing can look at the robots and say, "Oh, that is
sure.
so amazing." But
Yeah.
bringing robots into a manufacturing conference, you better have your A game there. People, engineers and people in factories know exactly what
Yeah.
people need to do on the factory,
I,
and seeing a robot stumble around trying to
I,
carry one part like
I,
6 feet
oh,
to a table is just It's terribly
I,
disappointing
yeah,
sometimes.
one company had for the second time in a row, second year in a row, they had a robot carrying a bin from where parts came off a line to another place, another part to another line. And again, it was moving so slowly. Again, for the second year, it didn't hadn't picked up any speed in the second year. It was still wowing the crowds because these guys haven't seen a robot yet,
Yeah,
and they may be just happy that, oh, I can go home and tell people I saw a robot at a factory. But to people like us, like it's not really practical yet. There is very limited use, and humanoid robots, I think they're I don't know. It could easily be the first bubble bursting because humanoids should it even be a thing? If I designed a human, I don't think it would be like us, right? So consequently, if I wanted to have somebody weld things on an assembly line, I would have an industrial robot with some good at welding.
sure.
You have a humanoid robot, right? Because there's so many things on a humanoid robot that don't lend themselves to specific tasks like welding or
Yeah.
right. Are we going too far? Like trying to pretend that a human form is the best thing for a
Yeah,
robot?
well, I think there's a couple reasons for that though too. So one
Yeah,
is so many the environment, the factories, the moving around, it's all
yeah,
built for humans, right? So the door
right,
handle is always at a certain level, the door size
sure,
is always for a humanoid
right,
robot. The stations that if you're going to replace a human doing something with a robot, that station was probably set up for a humanoid robot too.
right.
So I understand the need to do the humanoid robots and also the need not to. There's lots of cases that doesn't matter, right? Picking up pallets and carrying them around. These little floor robots are 10 times better than that.
Sure.
So yeah, I think it just depends on what you're doing. I mean, the goal was always you want factories that you can reconfigure. So if you have something configured for just doing one job and the new factory doesn't require that anymore, it'd be a shame to lose that investment, right? You'd want to be able to move it
Yeah, yeah,
to the next task. Um,
right.
but is the cost? I don't know that the advantage of cost is there yet. Is the thing. So so when it comes to AI, I think the interesting things are probably more on the computer side right now.
Yeah.
The real advantages of things you can do are there, and I'm sure there's some
Give
good
me give me an
pilots.
example. Give me an example of that, Mark.
Coding. If you're going to write code, and I could talk about this all day because I've been deep into AI-based development. Even if you're a mechanical engineer that took a class of Fortran, it was maybe going way back, and maybe you write a script every once in a while to maybe automate your simulation or automate something on your Windows machine or Linux. Vibe coding is just awesome. You can just go to your AI, tell it what you want for your script, and it will create one in a fraction. And if you don't like it, you just talk to it a little bit, and you're fine. So I think that's a huge thing that especially engineers that know what programming is and maybe use it occasionally. I think they're going to be super happy with what's going on here.
Uh-huh.
Now, it's not that I don't think the IT people are going to be happy about that. All of a sudden, the engineers are writing code that's very useful for them, but probably has security holes all over the place
Right.
and all kinds of other challenges too. And you
Yeah.
know,
This also seems like if okay, I'm not a coder, and I'd be very bad if I tried to code things right now. My last computer course was Basic and Fortran, and that was decades ago. I would just love this AI that can code for me. I would love it because it can write near 99% good code, right? And much faster than
mhm,
I could take a course over again
yeah,
and do it. I could write Python code. I could write script for CAD. It's wonderful to me. I'm easily wowed by this, right?
yeah.
But of course, a developer is not because a senior developer, high level coder would see like, oh, that's not really elegant code. That's not really good code.
No,
Here's the
but
problem.
here's the problem. And if you had said this 9 months ago, I'd say,
Uh,
yeah, you're right. If you had said this in December, and I think that's where there was a big change, is it's all changing. And I think that's something that people are having a hard time with. AI is changing so quickly.
right.
And what I mean by that, if I saw someone writing code today for
Yeah.
professional software, I'd be very worried about them right now because there's no reason to do that. And you could say, oh well, it's quality, but the code I'm writing with AI right now has a far higher quality. It's far better architected than my own code would have been. And
Hmm.
I've been doing this for many years, right?
You've
And
actually been
I've been
writing
doing,
code.
yeah, because much of my life has been creating production code and creating good architecture so that it works there.
Oh, so
And
it can impress you even, and you're a
yeah,
veteran.
and I think that would be true of most developers. That I think, I had this, I was actually on LinkedIn a little while ago, and there's some discussion within more on the manufacturing side about, well, maybe we don't have to write code anymore. But if you go to software development side, if you go to a senior developer at any company, especially the FANG companies, but the other ones too, I would really doubt there's a senior developer still writing code there unless it's some really niche application. I would expect that all senior developers are using AI now to create their code. And it's even gotten to another level where they're not writing the code, they're sending out multiple agents to write the code in these big sandboxes. So if I have a lot of friends at, NVIDIA or, other high tech companies. And, that's what they do. They have tons of tokens. They say, okay, we'll write this code here. And maybe we'll even have three of them write the same code and we'll pick the best code of the three. So
Uh,
you have a lot of new possibilities now that are coming
yeah.
online.
You
So if
mentioned
you're
LinkedIn.
an independent coder, not using AI or just using it for code complete or very minor things, you're not going to be able to keep up. It's going to be a real hard thing, and it's getting worse every year for that. Not every year, every day, every month, every week, it's getting better.
Okay, it's getting worse for them. Do you mean like the people that are going to be let go
Yeah,
because?
I don't think a lone coder without AI can anywhere near keep up with the what's going on with developers that are writing the code. And it's not uh it's not that they don't have any value. The value is just moved up the chain.
Yeah,
So
right.
senior developers that can use AI are super valuable right now because they have both the experience and the capability to use AI. There's challenges sometimes for the young generation, the people
Uh,
coming right out of school, because yeah, they can maybe use AI, but they've never used it in production environment. They may not have any experience, let's say in CAD or manufacturing, to really be able to apply it nicely. And so
uh,
that's a little more challenging there.
so this has actually made big news in the tech world because of the wave after wave of layoffs that are happening in
Yeah.
tech. A lot of them are being applied to uh, being applied negatively to the coding staff, the developers. Uh, I think, what was it? Okay, so I'm writing about this right now. This is a company that
Space,
laid off
space,
30,000 people,
is
right?
it space
30,000.
meta,
Or-
maybe? There's a
Oracle.
oh, Oracle, yeah, them too.
Burhop just
So
laid off 30,000 people, and 12,000 of them are in India. And a lot of them, I'm sure, are developers, right? A lot of developers. They made such a
sure.
big bet in AI that they need to now clear some of their operating costs. And I think they're going to be developers that are going to be let
Yeah,
go.
there's a lot of concern about jobs right
Yeah,
now. My personal thing is that it's not going to be what people think it is, but I do think there's going to be a lot of changing of jobs, and that's still going to be a big impact. So
yeah, yeah.
even if you have, let's say we're laying off people in one section, there's hiring, probably equal hiring. That's the debate. Is it equal? Is it less hiring, more hiring, or equal hiring?
Right.
A lot of people think it'd be less hiring, but I think there's new jobs being created at the same time. But that's hard, right? It's like going back to the time when horses were replaced by automobiles. You had
Sure.
lots of people in New York that shoed horses and did supported the horses and fed the
Yeah.
horses and all those other things.
Well, it's
And
an industry.
it's an industry, yeah.
Yeah,
And so what happens when that whole industry goes away, replaced with the automotive industry? So
yeah,
now you got lots of new jobs, mechanics, whatever, but you better be not better be sure, but you would like to see that there's a way to go from the guy shoeing horses to becoming a
uh,
mechanic on something. So there's not this huge displacement of people.
Right.
So we'll
Right.
see what happens.
I'm noticing it, starting to notice some trend like that building in our industry, talking about the CAD, CAM, and CAE world. I'm noticing, and I can't tie this into AI directly. I'm seeing more and more mechanical designers, not engineers, but designers, are having difficulty getting jobs, right? And I know that AI is making some inroads into CAD where the drawing is automatically generated, like feature control blocks are automatically generated, dimensions are automatically put in, lessening the need for pure mechanical designers who only make drawings, right? So I think there's going to be not too distant world where the drafter, the CAD drafter working on a CAD machine is just not necessary. The engineer can just practically
Yeah.
push a button and generate that drawing.
Yeah. And so that's maybe a good example because in my mind, the thing that should be happening is you should be looking for places that you can where you can make the designer's life easier.
Uh,
And look at drawings, for example. So drawings, you're doing your solid model. Sometimes drawings are kind of an afterthought, but you're going to send it to a CNC shop. Other places it's more rigorous, in aerospace, for example. Now the AI can go through and look, did you put all your dimensions in the right place according to standards, right? Because there's
yeah,
drawing checkers still out there that do that.
right.
The drawing checker job is probably gone because AI can probably do a better job going forward.
Mhm.
Much like radiology has improved a lot with AI. So there's other things with making sure you have all the right dimensions, making sure you put it all out there correctly, make sure there's no error. So that's awfully useful if the AI can just go out and say, hey, you missed a dimension, put it in here, rather than, sending it to drawing checker or whatever and see what happens. But even that, I said drawing checkers are probably going away. But you compared it to radiology, but radiology is booming. Everybody thought radiology would be the first job to go, and it's actually doing really, really, really well. So,
Yeah. So you've been very active on LinkedIn. I've got to say, I'm one of your big fans.
oh yeah, yeah,
The reason I was a little bit late on our talk today was I was reading your recent report about the interfaces, the UIs in CAD.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I've kind of consolidated all my, I used to do, I'm still on Twitter or still on X, and
Uh,
other places. I like long form content better. I don't like these little short, you don't really understand what it says. So I've been writing these really long essays now and putting that on Substack. So I started out there. The only negative part is they're super long and no one wants to read them. But I,
oh,
but I kind
I'm reading
you
them.
do well, good, thank you. So yeah, my mom reads it too. So here's the trick my mom does, and she sent me a text this morning,
Uh,
on that one. She says, well,
wait,
what you do?
don't tell me. She sends it to AI. It says, "What is my son trying to say here?"
Yeah, yeah. And so she'll. I wonder if I've got the text here. I'll just see what it. So you just read the text on the interfaces. So
Yeah.
she said, oh heck, we're on a thread. My wife and my mother and I chat a lot. So I'm looking to see if I can find it. But yeah, so Mark, I checked out your chat GPT. I checked with Chat GPT about your latest essay. And the summary of my 8 pages was AI is like a smart helper sitting in the room, but no one knows how to talk to it easily yet. So that's the sum of my paper. Now you don't have to read the paper. It's AI is sitting in a room and it hasn't learned to really communicate well with engineers yet.
So your mom, that's funny. Your mom has to use Chat GPT to figure it out. What are you using, by the way? Are you using Claude or are you
I
using?
all of them. I can't, so that's one of the secrets of coding right now is they're giving, a lot of times if you buy Claude Code or you get through Anthropic or you get an account through Google or one through OpenAI, they tend to give you a better rates with tokens on the coding UIs. And so what I end up doing is for over a year, I got by on $20 a month subscriptions because they were getting everybody to go.
Okay.
And typically I'd use all the models depending on what's best. For a long time it was Claude Code. Claude Opus was the greatest. Lately, OpenAI, their latest their latest GPT is really good at coding. Google will come out with another one next week, I hear. That's the rumor, at least. And that
Okay.
one's supposed to be great. So I think there's a whole lot of developers right now that are jumping between models. Whoever's offering the best functionality at the time will do that. But there's a lot of free models out there too that are really good. And there's a lot of tasks that you can spin off on those. So that's where I'm at now. It's like, okay, well, this job's a planning task. So let's give this to, Claude Opus. And this one's just an implementation thing. So let's just give this to a fast Gemini model
Yeah, yeah.
and get the code done. So
So by the way, I'm going to say it's genius, and I don't just say it's call people geniuses who agree with me, but I have to say I do agree with quite a bit of what you're saying that the UIs are where AI could make the biggest difference. You know CAD like the back of your hand. Uh, and I've studied many CAD programs and reviewed even more. Uh, I was an expert in some for a while, but anymore, if I get back into a CAD program, let's say I want to make something in my workshop, right, or for my deck, I want to make a deck or a shelf. I won't use CAD. I have admitted publicly. I'm sorry. It's just too difficult for me to
yeah,
use anymore, right? And all of that is because of the interface. I mean, I love that it makes perfect geometry and parts will fit, but that interface kills me because that's three or four
yeah.
hundred words I have to learn all over again, right?
It's
Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't
it's
done it
like
for a while.
stepping into a Boeing 747 with gadgets all over and buttons all over, and you can do everything with it, but
Yeah.
gee, it's a
So,
lot to learn.
so do you think like this AI promise the natural language interface that ChatGPT gave us and others now have promised?
I don't think it's that. I think all right, so if you look at CAD now, so again, it's like this whole big, huge interface of UI.
Yeah,
And what a lot of companies are doing, it's like, oh, well, here's a few more buttons to use AI. So
right,
you're kind of making it worse in some ways.
right.
And AI can do a lot more. So I think if AI is removing obstacles, that's a good thing. So if it's removing confusion about the UI,
Hmm.
if it's making it easier for, well, if you're doing manufacturing, if it makes it easier to write your G code or your information for
Sure.
the
It'd be
control.
perfect for writing G code,
Oh
right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So and there's still a lot of people that do that. So you're essentially using the same technology the coders are using now,
Hmm.
and it can just do some wonderful things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no,
But
no. That
yeah,
was it.
do you think CAD will have one day will have a natural language interface or no, right? Well,
Yeah, no, I think it will.
okay.
I don't see how you could not get there. The If you want one, if you want a natural interface that says, hey, just go create me here's my deck, here's some measurements,
Yeah.
give me a deck that kind of matches with that. I think that will probably be
Because
possible.
that's kind of my dream, right? I'm not a
Yeah.
developer, of course, so I can dream and I can have unrealistic dreams. Uh,
Yeah, and I kind of
I
equate
want to
that
say
with
like I want to next time I make a shelf, I want it to say, "Hey, CAD program, whatever, whichever, make me a shelf." And and I know it'll suck at it at first, right? It won't, right? But eventually I wanted to learn what kind of shelves I have made, what kind of materials I use, right? What kind of shop I have, what tools I
yeah.
have. Take all that into account and at least say, okay, well, here's some ideas, right? I want it to interact with me. That's where I
Yeah.
dream about CAD being, right?
And that's the right, yeah. So take that. Yeah, I guess there are two parts to say here. One is so what you're doing, what you want there is essentially what the homolog or the same thing in coding is the vibe coding. So now you can vibe code something and get something good,
Okay.
usable. And I think that what you're going for right there is easy. The harder part now is I want to design a new airplane. That's not something one shot a prompt for.
No,
But what
no.
you can do is all
But
the
it could work with me, right? Okay, let's
oh
not.
yeah, but see, it can do
Okay,
all the stuff before. So okay,
yeah,
I want an airplane, but let's start collecting some requirements. How big does the airplane need to be? What are all the things? Have you thought
right,
about regulations? You know it's going to take this long to get it approved, and all those things that it can work with you on. The
right,
whole development process
right.
is wonderful because it can do this research very quickly. It can update
Mhm.
documents in your
Sure.
PDM
And it can
system.
understand, it can, let's say I'm doing this at Boeing or Airbus, right?
Yeah,
It understands what aircraft have been before, right? And
yeah,
it can, so it can, it doesn't seem to be an unreasonable request, although I'm
no,
sure sci-fi-ish, but make me an airplane like the 787, only I want it to go not as far, and I want it to be more aerodynamic. I can make those kind of requests because those are
oh
modifications.
yeah, and those are more research type requests too, because
Right.
if you were a person to go do that, right, you would go look, you become an expert on a lot of the things that the old design has, and
Yeah,
you'd be thinking, okay, where's the areas that I have to work on to modify
sure.
this? How did we have processes before to do that? It would know all your processes. It would,
Right.
set everything up for you. It could schedule the meetings for you. It could say, this is the expert on this person. These are the people we need to talk to.
Exactly.
All those things. Here's some concept diagrams. Here's some concept UIs that you want to do. So all that is totally accessible to AI, and so
Yeah.
that's why it's a really hard thing with AI. There's on one hand, I keep looking at what companies are doing, and it's like, oh man, why that's never going to work. And then you
Yeah.
see some of these easier things like what we're talking about here, and those should be trivial to do, but not enough people are focusing on them. So I think
Yeah.
that's one of the challenges in the CAD industry is there's a lot of diversity in where they're investing in AI. I don't think they've found the best ones yet. I think as a whole, the industry's throwing darts at the dartboard and seeing which ones actually work well and which
Yeah.
ones
Yeah.
don't.
So who is throwing these darts? Because I see one of my colleagues on the internet, let's say, Michael Finocchiaro, he's amassed a study of literally hundreds of companies that have AI CAD or CAM or CAE programs, these startups. There's a literally
Yeah,
hundreds of them, right? So he's
yeah.
found 100 of them. I thought, wow, this is amazing. The CAD companies themselves, as you point out in your report, are also have AI filtering in now. I would say very slowly, right?
Yeah, that
Right?
was kind of my impression too. I mean, it had some good things. I see some nice things coming out.
Yeah.
I saw the Dassault presentation on generative design that I thought was pretty good.
Uh,
I saw, from Siemens doing it wasn't G code, but the language for their controllers using AI for that. Those are nice things.
yeah.
But yeah, it's too conservative, and a lot of times these companies tend to watch what others do first, and they can be fast followers. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
if you want to see what's really going on, you have to kind of watch the startups out there and
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
they're
Do,
doing.
do you give them any hope? I'll tell you why I'm saying this because I don't see any of them. There's a few that are gaining more visibility, but I don't see them gaining a lot of traction or penetration in the market. I think most people are sort of happy with their
Yeah,
programs, as it were. I don't think they're ready to jump on the ship of like a startup to do handle their design work or even give them
yeah,
the time of
yeah,
day. Uh, so I think the CAD companies sensing this are taking a slow road. Like that's not the right term. Slow walking this
yeah,
AI, right? Right? They can afford to. And I'm reminded of a conversation I had a couple of years ago, and I may have mentioned this last time we talked about AI. It was a couple of years ago, and he said, sure, you could have AI make ChatGPT do a prompt, after a prompt, design a bracket for you. But the time that it would take you to tell it exactly what that bracket looked like or how thick it was, where the holes were, you might as well have made it yourself. And I think
yeah.
that's what CAD operators also think. Like, I'm not going to use AI to make prompt me. I don't need it to do natural language interface because I can whip it out. I can
I
whip
can
it
whip
out.
that. Yeah. So here's the answer to that now
Yeah.
is yeah, totally right. So I got, say a dozen of these trivial kind of tasks that I could just whip out in no time.
Yeah.
So rather than me doing it, I set up my agent. I give it, okay, these are the tasks I got to get done. They're all
Yeah.
trivial. It takes it 3 times longer than it takes me, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
Uh, I go to bed and I wake up and all the tasks are done. So sometimes it's not the speed of that you can do it, but it's the throughput that you get. So I think there's some cases like that where it's even in software development, you're seeing that where, like I said earlier, people are spinning things off to agents to solve multiple problems at once.
Yeah.
That kind of parallelization is harder to do if you're not AI. Otherwise, you're doing it all, or
Right.
you're delegating to other people to do that. Yeah, I think there's lots and lots of opportunities. But like you said, I totally agree with you. I don't think AI is anywhere near um, as helpful as it should be right now for
Yeah.
engineers in CAD.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in MCAD and CAD. I think the EDA companies are doing a lot more, like designing
Yeah.
circuits. There's a lot more AI implementation there.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think that's it more easily. I don't not that that's an easy topic. It's an incredibly hard
sure.
topic, right? But
Right.
as Jensen would tell you,
Yeah.
but it's in terms of testing and validating that you got a good solution. That's pretty good, and
Yeah.
that's
There's a lot more optimization and
yeah,
that can be done in maybe EDA that can be done. Although I'm thinking of something else. Brad Rothenberg, of course, right?
oh yeah,
And you've kept up with what he's trying to do. And
oh yeah. Yeah. He's a good guy. I've liked him from the very
oh,
beginning when it was started. So yeah,
he's one of the it's at the forefront, I think, of what could be it still could be a revolution because he's talking about computational design and
hmm
and he's taken it upon himself lately to design airplanes. Right, we were talking about designing
yeah,
airplanes. Like, hey, AI, make me an airplane. Okay, well, CAD, not knowing any better, Brad says, okay, I can do that, right? So he's got all these airplane designs for these drones, and I've got to say, okay, he's not making that whole airplane, of course, right? But some of the shapes he comes up with are fascinating, interesting, and that's a great example, I think, of telling AI to just go explore all the possibilities. Come back
yeah,
with me with what works, or I'll select what works or what looks good or what's manufacturable. But it comes up with hundreds and thousands of designs of
yeah,
I may not have thought of, right? The- in that
right,
case, it's dealing with designs I don't feel I can intuitively get what a perfect streamlined shape is of a plane that needs to go like hypersonic. I can't get that because none of those things exist to me that I can see or feel, right? But let AI go crazy, right? Let generative design go crazy or topology
yeah,
optimization. Do, throw a million things up there and see what works.
yeah.
That to me is like the dream, right? Now, AI could help me filter out those things because I don't have
Mhm.
time to look at all of those or study them, right? But AI could like what's the word I'm looking for? Aggregate or evaluate or be very critical of things, right? If I say pick me the best airplane, maybe it should know what best means and look at all those thousand
Yeah.
designs,
Yeah,
right?
and that's one of the, one of the challenges with AI is basically the prompt.
Yeah,
So how do you give it a good prompt that it does the right thing?
right.
And so that's one of them too. It's like you got to make sure you have to anticipate what the AI needs to know to make a good airplane to make sure that information is provided in some way or another. So that's
Uh,
kind of the real value of humans right now, I think, is
yeah,
that experience of knowing what you got the super bright intern, but he doesn't know how to make airplanes, but maybe he's a mechanical whiz or computational design whiz.
yeah.
You need to tell him all the constraints, right? Because who knows what you get otherwise. But that's
Yeah,
so what you're talking about with Brad though, everybody's been wanting to do design exploration for a decade, right? I want all the designs out there, and Autodesk was real good about talking about this a while ago.
yeah,
With AI, it suddenly becomes a lot more possible just because the AI can just kick it out. It's just tokens. It's just money. You want 10 designs, you want 100 designs, just pay 10 times more and you get 100 designs and pick from
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's creating. If I let it do that, I don't want it to create a lot of work for me. I don't have time to look at them all or evaluate them all. I want
Right.
something and
So
evaluating them for me.
yeah, you keep adding layers. So now you got so this is where agents are cool.
Yeah,
And so what you're describing here, so you got one agent kind of going through, coming up with all the different designs. That's all they do
yeah,
is think about designs. You got
right.
another one out there all I do is evaluate designs. How good is this going to be with fuel? How good is this one going to be noise wise? Because a lot of places don't like loud noise. How good is this going to be for all
Sure.
these other things? And it goes through and evaluates those and does some ranking for you. So now
Yeah,
instead of get a list, you get a wow. here's 10 of them, or if you're a CEO, here's 3 of them. Pick your favorite one of these 3. And
Uh-huh.
hopefully you've gotten some good answers there. So I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
where these levels of AI is. I think, well, that's where we are at with software development now, especially the early adopters. I think we're
uh-huh.
going to move towards that too in product design and manufacturing in general as well.
Right. You point out in your report about the interfaces. We should get the full name down because I'll refer to it. Interfaces is a primary bottleneck for AI and product design. One of the things you say is, here we are. Okay. A drop in confidence in AI. Okay, so here's your quote. The implementation wall. Globally, only 69% of business leaders now say AI will enhance their industry, a 12-point drop from 2024. And their trust in AI has fallen 11
Yeah.
points to 65%, right? So
Yeah.
we're actually expecting less. Do you think this is a sort of a correction from the wild
I
eye?
think this is a correction from irrational exuberance that was there before.
Okay.
So I think people are understanding more what AI can do and can't do.
Uh,
I think they're understanding better how quickly it's advancing
right.
because it was, there's a lot of talk of it being on some type of exponential curve. It's like a year for a really good model now, but 6 months later, and get 3 months and less until changes happen. So I where I've adjusted here is again in manufacturing. I think there's a longer timeline just because it interfaces so much with the real world, and I think that's more of a challenge.
Mm,
The indeterministic nature of models that is a huge thing. So AI models, especially LLMs, I should say, are non-deterministic, right? So I give you an example of what that is. I had my agent going through and I said, okay, do five coding rounds, and then on the 5th round, build test cases and test it all and fix all the test cases. So my model says, okay, well, this is round 5, I'm going to do it. This is round 10, I'm going to do it. This is round 15. Got round 65. Well, that's not divisible by 5, so we're not going to do the testing. But 65 is divisible by 5, so you get this unexpected, non-deterministic
yeah.
thing that happens. Manufacturing has to be able to deal with that. Now
Yeah.
they do already. People are non-deterministic, right? So
Right.
we're
Right.
used to working with people. I think you just need to have the mindset that AI is going to be more like people than it's going to be like a software program.
Right. I think we expect our software to be deterministic, to have
Yeah,
exact,
yeah,
repeatable, reliable answers, right? I don't want it to do 2 plus 2 equals 4 most of the time, and maybe another
right.
number another time, right? Because I'm infuriated by the fact that it gives me a different answer every time I ask it the same
Yeah,
question, right?
yeah. Now there's some things you can do to get better, more consistent answers, but it's still
What's your trick?
well, it has to do with the temperature of the model, so it's something you can't necessarily change. So it kind of controls how creative the model gets. So if you tell it don't be creative at all, it comes up with
Okay.
similar answers. But if you
So
say, okay, start thinking a little big or a little more broadly, then it will go down different paths more often.
go down different paths
Yeah,
each time. I can perfectly see how that got it to where it was first famous. Like ChatGPT was used to generate a different questions to essays that English teachers might have asked them, and you can't have it have the same question because a teacher will be on to you. Hey,
yeah.
this is Chat. So I
Well,
can see
that
it,
too. Yeah, although
right?
you can still detect it pretty. So now there's this race going between students. First they're using AI, and then they figure out to
Right.
detect AI, and now we figure out how to obfuscate the AI written code so it looks like human written code, and now the
Exactly.
AI,
Yeah.
detecting that as well.
Right.
And I feel bad for the students right now. And I used to teach C++ plus plus at the University of Cincinnati, and
Yeah.
I would hate to do it now. I would not know. It's not clear to me how much to bring AI into the curriculum versus not to. Because
Yeah.
I think the value of software developers today is they know how the code works and they know what good architecture.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
from years of experience doing it. And what do you do for new programmers? Do you make them write code without
I don't know.
AI? That seems terribly inefficient in nowadays. So, but how do they build that experience too? So, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
figure it out though, because I don't think software development, a lot of people think software development is gone, it's cooked, but I don't think so. I think there's going to be a lot of really new jobs. AI is just too valuable right now.
Yeah, I don't see the coders that I've met that are keeping their jobs just have to make more code. It's like, okay, now you can use
Yeah.
AI. Now make me lots more code than you could do before. And I'm not going to give you any more money. That's my AI benefit, right?
Yeah, yeah. So most developers, it's funny because everyone's talking about, oh, when AI comes, we're going to have 4 hour or 4 day work weeks, and everyone's
Right.
going to be relaxing. And I know very few early adopter coders that are feeling less stressed. They're feeling more stressed
More
because
stress.
they go to lunch, and well, I can't go to lunch because my agents might need me, and that's 5 agents maybe working. So I go to lunch, my whole team goes to lunch. So it's crazy things like that
Yeah.
that people are
Right,
having
right.
difficulty with.
Yeah, it's not, I don't know. I've yet to hear encouraging reports coming out of the workforce about AI, all the way from like, oh, AI is going to cost me my job. Now AI is making me work harder. The one thing I'm drawing back a little bit to the CAD world, I've been very encouraged to see MCPs, model control protocols, right? And
Yeah.
I think Anthropic put them out, and it's
Yeah,
a, right?
Anthropic came out with a standard,
Right.
gosh, probably about 18 months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
So it had a lot of problems at first, so there was a lot of iterations onto it as well.
Uh,
And there's still challenges. So a lot of people say MCPs, and so okay, so just to explain what an MCP is for everybody else.
yeah, please.
An MCP is basically a API in a certain format. So you give this information on the API to the model, and the model, if the model is able to run tools, which is most developers or anything else, then it can say, oh, you're asking about how to get rid of chatter for CNC. And I get an MCP over here that knows all about chatter and C and everything. So I'm going to say, oh, the user wants to get rid of chatter. I'm going to call the MCP with some information. It's going to come
Mhm.
back with a bunch of really good information on chatter, and it puts that in the context. And now we can have good answers to things. And or it's not even just collecting information. You could be doing it for running tools. You could say, okay, go out and copy files for me now, or check my code into GitHub. All those are things that you can do with an MCP.
Mhm.
The challenge with it is when you start getting a lot of MCP. So let's say I load up 80 different tools in my context.
Yeah.
Each one has a bunch of information on how to call the tools. So now that the AI has to remember all the tools it has, how to call all of them. It has to sort through them when it calls the tools. And also, all that information is taking up a bunch of space in your context. So you only have so
Sure.
much space in your context. So a lot of people so MCPs are still valuable, but they're getting away from using MCPs. They're using a lot more. You'll see CLIs, command line interfaces, because these models are so good at calling a Unix shell or a Unix Solam.
Or MCPs, they introduced about 18 months ago. Do you
A
think they're
Linux
already
shell,
passe?
or so you can actually set these tools out to what's that? Say that again?
The MCPs are already
I
passe,
didn't hear the
and people
question.
are companies going to a command line
I
interface?
think I think what their role is being reduced right now, because I think CLIs are better in a lot of cases, because if you call a CLI the just command line interface, the chances are that the information that model needs to call that CLI, the command line interface, was
Mhm.
already in their training. So they don't have to go out and call other applications to learn how to do that. They already know how to copy files. They already know how to do an ls in a directory. They know how to use curl or anything else to do these things. So all of a sudden, anything that was an old Linux command or an old Unix command, it could just use as command line to do those things. And I think that's a really nice way to go too. There's another agent to agent protocol that's being done too, so you can get these agents to start sharing information and context back and forth. So I think that's growing. I expect more. I expect this to be a rapidly changing area
Uh-huh.
going forward.
Yeah, rapidly changing, although maybe not rapidly changing fast enough. Okay, another part of your
Well,
report.
yeah, it was out, I guess, like I said, MCPs came out 18 months ago,
Yeah,
and that's a pretty long run in AI time.
I guess it is. You say here 70% of respondents believe AI will negatively impact operations, but only 27% actually use them in workflows. You're quoting a 2026 analysis done by Dan Cumberland Labs?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, right. So,
So
yeah.
the kind of the feeling there. So this gets back to using AI. I did another example or another essay earlier about kind of the difference between coding and manufacturing. So in coding, if you make a mistake, you roll it back, right? You don't.
Right,
You can run all the tests you want. You can run 1,000 tests, and if 999 fail and the last one works, you're still fine. You can't do this in manufacturing. First of all, you got to get a machine to do testing because you're doing physical AI, which is hard
mhm,
enough. It's always been hard for researchers to get hold of the machine because the machine's got a job and it's got to go out to do that. Now you're saying, oh, but we're going to create 1,000 bad parts first before we ever get one. You can't do that in manufacturing. That's too much scrap. That's too much cost. It's too much machines offline.
sure.
So there's a lot of barriers there that I would say are going to make AI look slow and not be the best solution for things. I think there's a lot more up front that is valuable. For example, you can stand behind one of these big CNC machining tools, one of these multi-axis ones. They have a big monitor right there and they got all the documentation. And if you get an error on the machine, it would be certainly nice if the AI piped in and says, oh, you got error such and such. It just means you need to turn this dial half a turn. You don't have to go searching through the documentation or doing anything like that. So those are nice ones. Those are ones that help people out and remove some barrier. And the operator's happier because they don't want to go searching through documentation. The parts come out better and the throughput is good too. So those are the kinds of things I think where AI is really good and helpful. Um,
Right, right. But users aren't putting them in their workflow. But imagine, like you were saying, to a lot of the tool makers, the CAD vendors are starting to put them in. So they're getting some
yeah,
use out of AI without actively trying to hook up with an AI program themselves or you use even try a startup or something like that. I think they're just waiting.
yeah.
It,
But I
it,
think they have to a certain extent. They have a lot invested in these big systems, right? And so it's
Mhm.
not it's not just, oh well, we'll change off it and do this instead because all those
Yeah,
connections to all the other systems is hard. That's
sure.
where the startups I think are a little more interesting and they can make these big statements. One of the things, so I work with OpenClaw a lot, but I don't know if you know what that is, but
Yeah,
the
a little
creator
bit.
of OpenClaw was doing these agents that just go off and do things. And he said basically UIs are just slow APIs, meaning what we can do now is I could create right now an agent that would go through and actually click the buttons in your favorite CAD system and do all the work there. And I'm sure there's examples of that already on the web.
Okay,
Um,
now, Mark, that may seem like an ordinary thing for you, but for somebody, a dummy like me that doesn't
well,
program, I'm
that's
not,
huge,
I'm still
right?
gonna get there, right?
But you go from that, and it's like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh, as a developer, that's it's bad. You don't want to be looking at a graphics window and making your cursor drive around to click buttons.
uh,
But you can't, and you can make an API out of it. But the best is to just call the APIs directly. So I think
uh,
that is going to be one of the bigger changes that come in
okay,
the
for
next couple of
developers,
years.
but what can a
No, not for
user
development.
can't do that.
No, what? Yeah, the user with an
User,
AI can though, right?
okay,
So
users of AI.
you can sit in your CAD system or your AI and say, design me a deck, and the little window pops up, and here's your deck. And oh, that's too big a deck. I need it smaller, and you
Right.
can change it that way. You don't need a CAD system and all those buttons. It's just calling APIs and pulling out the CAD model and displaying it for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I'm not saying this is coming anytime soon. I'm not saying this is going to change things in the next 3 years, even, which is a long time in AI time. But I
Mm,
do think eventually the UI for this will change. That the way you get to a final product, a way a designer gets to a final product is going to be a different type of mechanism than what we have now with clicking buttons and dragging mouses and rotating models looking for the face that you want,
Right.
type of thing. I think there'll be better systems with much different UIs, much better UIs that
Definitely.
drive all that.
Do you
So
remember Minority Report where the UI, that's like UI Hall of Fame kind of stuff, right? And where
yeah,
he's doing all these things with the screen. And to this day, UI designers talk about that, but we still don't have it. That was a
but yeah, and and those are always good too because it's the same thing with the VR folks, and I love VR. I got them sitting over here on my desk all over the
okay,
place.
cool.
But I hate taking that thing on and off and putting it on and getting it's knocking my glasses all over the
Exactly.
place
It's
and
cumbersome, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I don't use it a lot because of that. So a lot of times you see these things in movies that look really cool, but in the real life, there's a lot of practical things. Same
Yeah.
ones with you're moving your hands and gesturing all over the place. My arms would get tired after that, right? So I think some of these interfaces are cool. I think there will be some things like that come along. But the mouse has survived a long time, so it's going to have to be
Yeah.
something pretty good that's better than
I
a mouse.
agree. It might be okay for Tom Cruise. He does all his own stunts at,
Yeah,
like he's like our age and he does his own stunts and I'm sure he can do that interface all day long, right? But yeah, we can't. But that's the future never caught up to that. I think it was just the fact that it can, recognize hand gestures is and fake the way he was moving his fingers and pointing there was and that's sort of coming around like there are but still even to this day with your VR headset you control it by doing dumb looking things like pinching, right? Here's
yeah,
pinch or a double pinch or something or right and
and
that's
that
like oh my God, didn't you see that movie?
yeah, and it seems like it should be intuitive, but I was looking at 3D monitors not too long ago, which was
Yeah.
cool as anything. They track your eyes, so each eye gets a different set of pixels, or not pixels, but photons if you want. But
uh,
everything looks 3D, and then they'll hook it up with something that can detect your hand, so you can go out and grab it and move it around. But it's
yeah, yeah.
it's still hard to do, right? It's not
All
as
right,
easy
right.
as physical objects. So
I know,
um,
I know.
so I
I,
think more work is
yeah.
needed there.
Definitely. I've taken an hour of your time. It's so much fun to talk to you. I'd love to talk to you. I hope we can do it again and catch
Oh
up.
yeah, anytime. This is all fun for me. You say people are worried about it, but I'm excited about it. I've never had so much fun in my career. Um,
Same, same. It's
yeah,
like we got a front row seat. I mean, you're directly involved, but I have a front row seat to all this technology,
yeah.
and I'm just watching it develop so quickly in front of me. Uh, yeah, no, this very good. So, Mark, what do you do now? You retired from? Have you retired now? You're not
I
retired,
think
obviously. But retired
technically I'm
from.
retired from Siemens because I was old enough when I left.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was doing a little bit of AI before I left. I was working on what they called synthetic data, the last thing, but I really felt there was a lot I could do outside of Siemens, just on my own. So yeah, I got together with some friends. We have a startup going. We're not ready to
Uh-huh.
talk about it yet. We still got a lot of secret things going on, if you will.
Oh,
I don't think
exciting.
they should be secret, but the money people there. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, don't tell anybody, don't tell anybody. But so that's what I'm working on right now. So I have a
Okay.
little bit of free time in between product launch when I probably will never sleep again and right now. So that's why I'm trying to get some of these essays out there and start talking to people. And some of it's just good to get the information out there
Yeah.
to see where other people are at. If
Well,
someone comes along.
looking at what you've done and what in some of your conversations on LinkedIn, if I could call them that, it seems like you were freed from the gravity of Siemens, and you can do more of the
Yeah,
things you're interested
yeah, that's
in.
about right. Not that Siemens was very good about letting me talk about things and doing different
Yeah,
things, but there's a lot of rules, right? Any of the big companies have rules and
yeah,
things that you need to be careful about and so on. So yeah, it is nice being free and just being able to talk about whatever I want to and
yeah.
what works, what doesn't work.
This might be turning into a Siemens sort of day. Later on, I'm going to talk to Brittany Nidge from Siemens Maritime Division. So she was so I just realized it's going to be all Siemens or ex-Siemens
Right,
today.
Siemens.
Well, Mark, it's been great. Thank you so much for joining me on this show. And good.
Yeah, thanks,
Go,
Rupinder. If you get
come
a
back.
lot of hits, I'm glad to come back. If they're all negative, that's fine too. We can visit that.
All right, you go make the next big thing, and I'll be anxious to
Yeah,
hear.
that's it. Well, let's when I have something really good to talk about, then
All right,
we'll meet again.
all right, all right, Mark. Talk to you later. Bye
Thanks
bye.
again, Rupinder.
All right, you bet.
Thank you for listening to FODES, the Future of Design and Engineering Software show, brought to you by Eng Technica. I hope you have learned of a new application or technology that will help you with your job. If you have an application you think would be of interest to other engineers, please let me know by emailing me at rupinder@engtechnica.com or message me on LinkedIn.